Blessed Rise and Soul Family, welcome back to the channel. If you're new, welcome to Soul Family Oracle, and if you're returning, thank you so much. Today's message I feel is meant to be a very profound message, so I will take my time to deliver it. The second coming of Christ is upon us. The second coming of Christ is upon us, and I'm speaking specifically about the Christ consciousness, which is the second coming of Christ. This message is a message that has been coming to me. It's been a few years since I received this download the first time. And the first time when I got this was when I was understanding the aftermath of Yeshua's demise, the aftermath of what happened after Yeshua was murdered or offed. 111 on the timer, which was the beginning of a whole new era, a whole new cycle, a whole new time in the human era or that time. So I had to meditate on the energy a bit before getting into it, because I feel like there's a lot of different things attached to it that we need to break down in order to understand how the second coming of Christ is happening and why it's upon us now. So when we speak of the Christ consciousness, we speak of an innate knowing, an innate sense of what we are meant to do, who we are meant to be to each other in this world, in the light of the Most High or the universe, to ourselves, to others, and to the world around us. The Christ consciousness speaks of the word that Yeshua the Christ preached as part of what was spoken of as his Father's word to mankind. This word was everything against the church, even though after his demise, the church became the physical representation of his word. Very tricky there. And I feel like this is the reason why Spirit wanted us to understand how that transition even happened in the first place, because it was the same church that got rid of him. So in understanding how this happened, I feel like we need to go to the time of Christ, when Christ was alive, his word and his preaching, his ways. And this is where how the roles of the various Christs with an S in this new world era now will be identified or are going to be living by. It's kind of like this is the code by which they're going to be living by. 333 on the timer. Thank you, Spirit. Which is the ways or the codes that Yeshua the Christ lived by. The first and foremost being unconditional love. Unconditional love. For everything that Yeshua the Christ preached, unconditional love was first and foremost for everything. This unconditional love was what opened us up to the most divine love, opened us up to the purest of love, which was spoken of as the love that is exchanged between us and the higher energy, the Creator. So, if you know of some of the scriptures from the time of Yeshua the Christ, you will understand that even the disciples that he walked with were a very blended mix of people from all walks of life. People from all walks of life. And so, that aside, not only were just the disciples, the people that came from all over the world to come and listen to him preach, to come and receive healing from him. And from all these people and the people that became his true followers, the word that he left were the things that I guess you would say they lived by or wanted to live by. But it first started with the rebellion. The rebellion was the most profound thing that was revealed to me the last few years when this download came to me, which was that the followers of Christ became rebels after the church got rid of him. They started to burn churches. They started to attack priests. They started to cause chaos in the churches. They started to turn people against the church in as a way of trying to go by what Jesus or Yeshua the Christ taught them. Not exactly in that manner, right? But out of the rebellion of him being, you know, of them getting rid of him. And it's important to understand how this transition happened through this, because it became the foundation of what the people of the congregation, it became the foundation of what Christianity was built on. So in that time, I think the what you call it, the Romans revered is this Zeus, or basically revered different gods as their rulers, right? And before or after that, the transition through the church was a totally different reality than what we know now, right? Or even now it's happening. Churches are going back to that way, the ways that Yeshua the Christ spoke against. Like, for instance, when he went to the church and, met people that were selling and doing business there, and he was infuriated, got angry, and scattered things and whipped them to leave the scene, because it wasn't a place of business, but a place of worship, of congregation, of the children of the Most High. But now, even though it might not be, it's not happening like it did in some places, it's happening just like it did in those times. The church system has become a business. The church system has become a place of marketing, has become a place of networking, has become a place of business. The church has become an institution of selling, buying and selling, has become an institution of manipulation. The I think there are parts where I don't remember these scriptures specifically by numbers, but there's the part where also he spoke a bit against like the rich, taking head in the church, and the poor being pushed to the side or being pushed to the back because they were what? Poor. To teach that we were all equal and all one in the eyes of God, and that no one had the right to discriminate against anyone else, whether because of their gender or their, color or whatever. And now, this still happens very much in the churches, or has come back to happen very much in the churches, where the people that are considered prominent or rich are given better treatment, are given better seats, are given better service or attention. Whereas maybe the people that are even the most devoted in the church, because they are not rich, they are cast to the side, or they are not given as much attention. And a lot of these things, just to speak of how some of the ways of the church were exactly the things that Yeshua the Christ was preaching against, and teaching people about what true love and true connection to the Most High was. Now, upon his demise, like I was saying, the followers of Christ became rebels. And to kind of like, this happened for a long time also. And for the church to rid themselves of this, they, not the church, but the law, well, would it be the law? I don't want to say the wrong things or use the wrong words, but that was Constantine's time. Yes, where this concept of Christianity was developed because it was a concept that was created by a man, right? And from what we know of Constantine's story, what happened? He basically came out to say that he had seen Jesus or Yeshua the Christ in a dream and recognized him as the true Son of God and everything he said and all those things, blah, blah, blah. And from then on, that concept started to roll out, right? And the things that Yeshua the Christ really stood for, which is unity, love, commitment, service to humanity, and all those things, what true love and true commitment, true devotion was, true humanity was kind of like diluted in the mix, where a whole bunch of different things was added to this concept in its creation to what kind of like misdirect the followers of Christ. So in a way, it's like this was developed to give to the followers of Christ as, here you go, we give you what you want now. It's like you can have this as the representation of your belief or faith in the Christ. And that was manipulated and contaminated to represent something else. And I'll give you an example. That's the reason why Christmas is celebrated as the same time as Satania, if I'm right. I think it's Satania, an old, is it Roman pagan holiday, which, let me see if I can look this up. I think for the god Zeus, right? Satania. Let me see if I can get anything on that. Okay, so it is Saturnalia. Saturnalia. Okay, Saturnalia. So this was a Roman tradition that was replicated, right, in Christianity, when Christianity or the concept of Christianity was developed to bring about this Christmas tradition, which supposedly celebrates Yeshua the Christ, or is supposed to be a celebration, a Christian celebration, but actually is a pagan celebration, right? Now, a lot of people believe that, Christmas is rooted in the birth of Christ, but a lot of scholars also, with confirmation, have, with proof, sorry, have made it known that the timelines don't match, that the timings don't match, that the timing with what we know now of the cycles don't match. And another thing that keeps coming through is that part of the reason why we don't have 1311 on my timer and 11111 on the laptop, 13 being what do you call it, 1 also. Another thing that was coming through was this 13, the 13 moons. Part of the reason the 13 moons was made into 12 is because a lot of things had to add up. A lot of timelines were wrong, and by eliminating this extra moon, a lot of things would make sense. So there's a lot behind the different things that we know of how the world operates that is rooted in very ancient history, or that is rooted in things that we believe to be the norm but are actually not. And again, like for instance, Christmas being a direct replication of Saturnalia, which is an ancient Roman festival. So to understand again how Christianity came about and how the Christ consciousness comes in, it's important to understand what led to it and how or why it was even created in the first place. Because through this, you understand how everything about Yeshua the Christ was miswritten or was faked in order to cover the real truth. That is because, again, the concept of Christianity was built as a shield, as a safeguard for the Romans, to safeguard their beliefs under the illusion of Christianity because the followers of Christ had become more powerful. Now, that is what Christianity is. Christianity basically means the followers of Christ. And again, remember, we're talking about the followers of Christ becoming rebels after the demise of Christ. Now, another thing that was coming through with this is when it's like I just got tuned out. What's up, spirit? Where's my frankincense? Another thing that was coming through was why it had to be this way. Why this long con was played, right? So the wake of Christianity would mean that a lot of things would be uprooted if it was started by the true followers of Christ. And so it's like, what was the church then, or what was the law then, or the order then, had to first be the ones to create it, to give to the people. They decided to write the script to give to the people. So they would be in control of how people worshipped Christ. Because the whole intention from beginning was for people to not follow his ways, or for basically to take him out, because he was exposing the higher powers then. He was exposing the law, the church. He was exposing what they were truly doing. And so if the followers of Christ would now develop what would be a worldwide belief or faith, that would have totally shattered everything that the church or the Roman stood for. And so it had to be from them. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of things may not only fabricated but misinterpreted to misdirect the masses. I'll give you an example. The Bible, right? Now, even though I use the Bible from time to time and I read the scriptures of the Bible as a word of direction, a word of, wisdom, I also know I have to read the Bible with discernment, because there are codes and multiple things in the Bible that you have to understand. And aside of that, there are those things that were put in there and disguised in a way to not really reveal their true meaning, like the book of Psalms. And in some cases, things that were removed from certain scriptures to not show people that there really are truer powers or higher powers, like Yeshua preached, for instance. Like, I'll give you an example, is the book of Enoch, right? So a lot of these things, I believe, need to be understood in order to understand the movement of the Christ consciousness in the first place. Because if you understand it, you understand that the Christ consciousness really is what is Christianity, or is what is the true faith of humanity, and not what we go by now as Christianity. Now, going back to the Bible was basically put together from different scriptures and different old ancient texts. But of course, a lot was taken out. And from a lot of what was taken out, a lot was destroyed and a lot were hidden. And from a lot of what was hidden, I believe some of you already know the Vatican has a lot of all those, which they keep under wraps, hidden away from everybody for various reasons, including the fact that some of these scriptures hold immense power. Immense power. Not just power in the spiritual sense, but also power in the physical sense. Like how to do certain things, how to operate certain technologies or build certain technological systems that can change the whole world, that can bring electricity, that can bring water from the ground, that can, bring solar energy, wind power, a lot of different things. So a lot of different reasons why some of those were hidden. But again, I wanted to emphasize on the Bible because to understand how, again, the Bible is part of the things that were put in place to run this Christianity machine, right? Now, the Bible was put together by the Council of Nicea, or Nicea, I think, right? And this was the first council in the history of the Christian church that was intended to address Christians, intended to discuss what the Christian faith needed, or not the Christian faith, sorry, what the Christian believers needed, how they needed to live, the rules they needed to go by. And the Council of Nicaea was convened by no other than the Emperor Constantine, who is the same person we're speaking of as, again, the one who supposedly had the dream that, Yeshua the Christ was really, truly who he said he was, but instead still didn't have him represented as who he truly was. But they used a totally different person to represent who he truly was. It's like they use the Roman representations to replace everything that Yeshua the Christ was. So the Council of Nicaea, which was convened by Emperor Constantine, was the council that put together the Bible. Now, this had to happen because the doctrines of the true Christ was not in alignment with what the church needed or wanted. And if people were going to go by that, it was going to be chaotic. Again, they were already being exposed. But not only were they being exposed, people were becoming more infuriated with the church. People were beginning to feel the need to, try and expose the church more. And so the Council of Nicaea had to be created to come together to create a solution to what was believed to be a problem. And the solution, or part of the solution to this problem, was the creation of the Bible, which would become the rule book for all the followers of Christ, or all the believers of Christianity. And again, this Bible was compiled from ancient texts, ancient writings, and ancient accounts of stories and experiences of different priests and people from the old time to guide the things that was believed to be the life or reality of Yeshua the Christ. And again, going back to, why, if this was truly what the Emperor Constantine had seen or was trying to do, which was what? Create a true Christian faith in honor of, the true Son of God, like he said he saw in his dream, which was Yeshua the Christ, or Jesus Christ as they called him, then why wasn't he represented in his true form? You understand? My battery's, I think I have to go inside. Why wasn't he represented as his true self in the scriptures? 1 second. Now, to understand that, I feel like there's something else we need to look at. To understand that, I feel there's something else we need to look at, which is the image of Christ, right? Like I was saying, if really and truly this was really what the emperor meant to do, why wasn't he represented as his true self? Now, when we speak of the image of Christ, or Jesus Christ as it's known, which is this image that, has been paraded for centuries as the true face of the Son of the Most High God. I think now in recent years, a lot of us can say that, a lot more people are aware of this, And also, recently, a few months ago, sometime last year, where Putin held a press conference to tell the world he wanted to reveal the true face of Yeshua the Christ and his disciples, and went into their vault to bring out a black Jesus, basically, where basically like Putin put on display the true image of Jesus and his disciples who were black. Now, that is not to make any significant point about color. Please note, I do not do racism here. I don't have that is nothing to do with anything here, right? But just to make you understand, what I mean by it wasn't the true intention of the emperor to represent Christianity or have the Roman represent the true Christianity. Now, back to the image. I wanted to bring something on where I don't know how many people know this, but the face, I'm trying to get online to see if I can get a name. Okay. So now to the image of Yeshua the Christ, or the image of Jesus that was what? Put out as the true face of Jesus. Let's talk about that. That image was an image of the then Pope, Pope Alexander, is IV the, yeah, Pope Alexander the, one second. Okay. So Pope Alexander, I want to get this right. I don't want to. So that image was from the time of Pope Alexander the Fourth, who ordered the destruction of all the arts that showed the true Semitic Jesus or Yeshua. Now, this Pope, he was the head Pope then, commissioned after the destruction, first he ordered the destruction of all the paintings that, depicted the true Yeshua. And then he commissioned for a number of paintings to be done of his Caucasian, of a Caucasian Jesus who was his son, a cardinal, specifically Cardinal Caesar Borgia. Now, this Cardinal Caesar Borgia, that's a whole nother story. That's a whole another thing. Now, this is the reason why I was saying it's very important to understand this part, how, why, and the energies that are behind this belief of Christianity that we live in now, in order to rid ourselves of it so we can truly follow the word of the true Yeshua. Because that's the only way that we can align ourselves with the Christ consciousness. Now, not only does this Pope order the destruction of all the arts and all the paintings that depicted the true Yeshua, he commissioned for them to be replicated in the image of his son. Now, this was under the authority of the Catholic Church. This was under the authority of the church. And this is how the face of Jesus was changed to represent something else. And another thing to note is that This Caesar Borgia, that the image of Yeshua was now painted to represent, this fake image, wasn't just anybody, right? Wasn't just anybody. Now, not just it wasn't just even like a kind-hearted person, kind soul, divine being. No, this person was just the son of the Pope, the head Pope at the time. And not only that, he wasn't actually a great person. He wasn't actually a good person. He was somebody that was power hungry. He was a military commander and he was a very powerful lord. Also, a very powerful politician. He had other siblings, but I know there's a story of how he killed his brother to become the head, even though because he was an illegitimate son. Now, you would think that this is somebody that you wouldn't guess that this is the image that has been worshipped as the image of Yeshua for all this time. This cruel person. And this started from Italy. So this is way beyond from the time of the Council of Nicea. But this is just to explain how it's been a systematic approach to breaking down the true essence of Yeshua the Christ. And now so many of our brothers and sisters are misdirected and lost. If you really understand the word of Christ, you will understand that it was all about inclusion. It was all about unconditional love, acceptance, love for all, humanity. And again, back to his disciples, it was a mix of a whole bunch of different people from different backgrounds. And another thing that was coming through strongly was this reading I did I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, about how your energy has brought together a spirit of like different backgrounds who wouldn't even sit together, all working for the collective good. This is the energy of the Christ consciousness. This is the energy that Yeshua walked in. That's that ascended master energy. Again, I always tell everybody Yeshua was an ascended master. That's why I call him Yeshua, the ascended master. And this understanding like makes you realize that he really came just like how a lot of us are in this time now. But he was one of maybe only in his time because of this time, and I'm getting early life. So the life cycle that has continued to repeat, it's been repeating, and more people have been waking up, more people have been coming to the realization, getting the insight. And even though it's been happening on a slow pace, I'm hearing now the age of Aquarius. It's like now, because we're in the age of Aquarius, it's happening on a faster pace. And it's like everything has been divinely aligned. It's like we had to be in this time for the Christ consciousness to descend, because it had to descend at a time when a lot of people could understand and grasp the insight that was coming through. So now, going back to understanding the root of the Christianity that we believe now, and how we are needing to transition to a higher consciousness of what the Christian faith really means. And this particular part, I'm speaking directly to my Christian brothers and sisters. I find a lot have this blockage when it comes to like understanding or like merging that spiritual understanding, that inner knowing. It's like a lot of Christians just shut that part off. It's like they don't want to know. They don't want their knowing or their belief or what they know or believe to be challenged. Thank you, Spirit. They don't want it to be challenged. They don't want it's like the fear of wavering. And another thing also is the ones that have begun to understand or understand more what Christianity truly is and the Christ consciousness, right? But are finding it hard to walk in the light of how Yeshua the Christ preached for us to maybe walk, in the sense that, for instance, again, like I keep saying, with the shadow and the light, like going by the book of how the church has, conditioned us, or the Bible has conditioned us, and being like, oh, I'm supposed to be this way, all loving, all light. But Jesus, or Yeshua the Christ, was a rebel. He wasn't just a preacher, he wasn't just a healer, he was a rebel also. He was a fighter. He fought for what was right. He fought for justice. He fought for the weak. He stood up for the weak. This was part of the mission. And so, in the light of this Christ consciousness, we are going to be seeing the rise of a lot more spiritual warriors. We're going to be seeing the rise of a lot more people standing in their integrity, speaking up for what's right, seeking justice, protecting the weak, protecting the needy, providing for the needy. A lot more people that we wouldn't even expect will turn out to be the kindest people. Because again, like I was saying, the disciples of Yeshua the Christ was a mix of people from different backgrounds with different beliefs, who all came together under one belief: the universal consciousness of who we were and how we were supposed to be with ourselves and each other. And in this knowing, they came together to walk with Yeshua to fulfill this purpose. Just like I need to remember to pin this video. Let me see where we are in this, so that I can. 36:33. Wow. Whoa, 36 minutes. 36:33. So that's, I'll try to remember to pin it there. So in this energy, it's like this message that it came through as like the second coming of Christ is upon us. The second coming of Christ is upon us. And I'm hearing medulla oblongata. Isn't that like the brain, or a part of the brain? You can leave a comment in if you know it. Medulla oblongata. But there's something about like a rewiring of the brain. It's like this consciousness. It's like I'm seeing like wires running through the brain. It's like little wires, like sparks, like wires sparking on the brain. It's like a rewiring of the brain. And with this is going to come also very intense spiritual gift. And for some, there's going to be a lot of downloads. That's with 37:37 on the time, as I said, that translates to 10:10. Exactly. It's the beginning. It's like a beginning of something tremendous, something unusual for some even. And now, with the second coming, again, I'm not, and I'm not even going to go to that part about, the rapture and all those things and da da da. No, I'm not going to do that. Like, let's not even go there. Let's stick to. I'll just stick to what the download is. And there was a part that I wanted to read, especially concerning what I just said. That I wanted to read from the Bible, right? To read from the Bible about what Jesus, or Yeshua the Christ, spoke of concerning the second coming, right? So this is from Matthew 24, verse 3 to 31, but I don't think I'll read all the way through to 31. And this speaks of the times, the signs of the times, the end times, and the end of the age. Again, specifically, the end of the age, not the end of the world or the end of humanity. It's the end of the age. It's like the golden era, the end of an era, the end of a one full cycle, where things are transformed for the rest of the world or for the whole planet. Now, if you go to read this, look specifically for that, the end of the age. So a lot of people confuse the second coming of Christ as the end of the world, but it is not. It is the end of a time where now Christ exists again in all of us. Okay, I felt the need to really explain this. So let's go back. So this is from Matthew 24, verse 3 to 31, but I don't think I'll read throughout that part. And it says, "Now, as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, 'Tell us, when will these things be? And that will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age.' And Jesus answered and said to them, 'Take heed that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet.'" All these things are happening right now in this time. They've been happening. It's happening. This is not just starting. This is a course that has been going on for quite a while, and now it's reached the stage that was spoken of in the Bible, where the second coming happens. Right? Let's continue. "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." Again, not the end, the beginnings of sorrows. This is what has been coming through, I know, for a lot of other channelers and for a lot of other readers. Again, just to bring something up, somebody was making a weird comment the other time about, oh, you tarot readers and all you tarot readers have. First of all, I'm not a tarot reader. The tarot cards are just one of the tools I use to deliver messages for the people that need to find it or understand it to do so. And when you speak of other seers and what they're seeing, everybody sees in their right, and whatever they share with their collective is what their collective needs to know. Some people should just learn how to leave some things alone. Now, going back to that, I feel like I'm going to be blanked out of that energy right now. Thank you, Spirit. Nations will rise against nations. It's already happening. Kingdoms against kingdoms. It's already happening. And there will be famines, pestilence, earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginnings of sorrow. It's already happening. And these things, it's like, that's what I was saying has been coming through to a lot of the seers and readers. It gets worse before it gets better. Things are going to get hard before it gets better. But it's important to be in the right space, to be in alignment, so that when these things are happening, you are not affected. Let me continue. So it says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. They will deliver you up to tribulation and kill you, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will be offended, will betray one another, and will hate one another. Then many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. So these things that are happening, a lot of people that are going to be in this energy are the people that are not in alignment with the Christ consciousness. The people that haven't been doing the work according to the true word of Yeshua the Christ and the Most High. The people that have been hypocrites, hiding behind religion to continuously walk in their shadow or the darkness of their shadow and not do the work. To continuously discriminate, single out, cause havoc, chaos, do evil unto others. This is going to be what happens to these people in the end. How they will betray each other, how they will backbite each other, how they will off each other. These people will turn against each other. It's going to be chaotic in their energy. But if you are walking in the right energy, if you're in alignment, you will already be aligned with your soul tribe. You will already have received the downloads and the messages of what you need to do, where you need to be in order not to be contaminated by this energy, or in order not to be dragged into the energies of these people. That's why, again, association in this time is so important. Like, if somebody's energy is not aligned with yours, it would be in your best interest to separate yourself. For when shit hit the fans, it's going to be it's going to be a mess all over the place, and you don't want to be there. Let's continue from verse 13. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. I'm telling you, that's it. He who endures to the end shall be saved. A lot of people are going to become SUSUCIDAL, yeah. A lot of people are going to want to end things. A lot of people are going to want to be chaotic. But for those aligned, those who have tapped into the Christ consciousness, those who have truly found light, there will be peace in your heart no matter what's going on around you. And for a lot, you will not even be around it. So again, but he who endures to the end shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. Whoever reads, let him understand, in the sense that standing in the holy place, however you understand this. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him who is in the housetop not go down to take anything of his house. And let him who is in the field not go back to get his clothes. You understand this? It says, when this happens, right? When this happens, based on where you are, the refuge that you find, he said, let those in Judea flee to the mountains. Fleeing into the mountains, for me right now, speaks of, for instance, going into nature, going away from the city, leaving the city, going into nature, going to the mountains, literally going to the mountains. And I'll tell you a short story. My forefathers, right, were mountain warriors. And specifically mountain warriors because they chose the mountains as their place of abode, because it made it difficult for anyone to wage war on them. They had a higher advantage, had a bigger advantage, and would always be able to fight back and drive oppressors and attackers back and defeat them. So this is very profound to me, this fleeing to the mountains. Let him who is on the mount housetop not go down to take anything out of his house. Not go down to take anything out of his house. Not to be bounded to material things. Traveling light. When this time comes, all the things that you have in your 10-bedroom mansion, they are not going to matter. If you try to move with things that you feel materially are so important, it's going to be chaotic for you, and you will probably be left behind and caught up in the chaos. It's going to be a time of traveling light, moving with the bare minimum, not the bare minimum as in not the best for you, but like eating from earth directly, not holding on to certain things. Fresh meals, raw meals. Let's continue. Leaving everything behind also is what's coming to me. Leaving everything and all behind that do not align, and making it out. Making it out and leaving everything is like, if in that time your wife or your spouse or your best friend, your mother, your daughter, your father is not in alignment, their energy is off, their frequency is down, you will have to leave them behind. Something like that. Let's continue. But woe to those, okay, for there will be great tribulation and not being seen beginning. Okay, so that's it. That's it. The rest speaks of, pregnant women and things that will happen. So I wanted this part, I felt like I wanted to read it out directly from the Bible to really emphasize on what Yeshua spoke of concerning the second coming of Christ, and how it speaks of it being in the heart of everybody. It's not, it speaks of it as something that happens to a collective. It doesn't speak of it as something that happens, somebody comes to do to the collective. It speaks of something that happens as a general energy that covers the whole entire planet that the collective will also experience. And I feel like that time is now. That's why so many people are being called from their slumber and being put to work. That's why so much energy is being put into us to establish spaces to help others heal. Because that time is now, that time to bring back that energy. Yeshua's energy reigns. Yeshua's energy, the reign of Yeshua's energy is back. And again, as an ascended master, a lot of people are needing to understand that Yeshua understood a lot of different things concerning different powers and spirits of the world. A lot of these things are eliminated from the Bible. Again, as we've already spoken about how the Bible came into being. So a lot of these things were eliminated or removed. That is why, again, the book of Enoch was removed, because it speaks of things beyond what we were supposed to know, or was supposed to be accepted under Christianity, because of how they wanted to paint Yeshua as somebody that was just so righteous in a certain way that was like very in alignment with what the church wanted people to believe, so as to not act in a certain way, like not to rebel against, be rebellious against the church, or to question things, or to question authority, or to want to know the truth, or to dig. And that time is over. That time is over, because the second coming of Christ is now. The second coming of Christ is now. The second coming of Christ is upon us. And for all the Christs out there, for all the Christs out there, get ready. It's about to be a whole new field. It's about to be a whole new field. I feel like this is where I'm going to leave this message. And as always, listen with discernment. Take only what resonates and leave what doesn't. And if this message resonates with you, I hope you are gearing up and getting ready, because it's time to be seated. And there's so many different energies that are around and have come down in this time to assist with this. So many that have come to assist with this. The guardians of the earth are showing up in so many different ways. The nature spirits are showing up in so many different ways, all signaling that we're here for the time, that we're here to play our role. We're taking part of this. It's a really beautiful time to be alive. I swear, it's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be alive. It's a great time to be alive. Have a blessed day, so family.